Hey, Helen here, your host. Great to have you along for the second season of The Beautiful Side of Grief, where we continue to hear from people from all walks of life who have faced or have been involved with heart-wrenching loss and who have come out the other side with so many positives to share with others. I know this may seem like an impossibility for you right here, right now, to be in that space. And believe me, I understand. I lost my own gorgeous 18-year-old daughter and only child in a car accident. Yet, here I am 4 years later, sharing my own journey and those of others in the most heartwarming and joyful way. Each and every one of my guests share their own beautiful insights and their strategies for getting through their grief. And through these stories, I hope you'll find your own way to deal with your grief in whatever form that may take. I'll pop my guest links and any free resources in the episode notes, along with my website address if you'd like to know more about the energy work I do, as that was my lifesaver in my own grief journey. Don't forget to subscribe and like so you can keep informed of each weekly episode. So now let's see who our guest is this week. What if, at the age of 31, instead of having an engagement party, you became an unplanned caregiver, transporting your loved one 90 minutes each way to the hospital for treatment? Now, imagine planning a wedding, even though there was uncertainty around how much time you may have together. Those were the types of things my guest today, Ashley Jackson, was facing after her fiance Troy was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer that had a 35% survival rate. Ashley is a graduate of Xavier University, where she studied finance and human resources. She went on to receiving her master's degree in human resources management, which she spent the next 10 plus years of her professional career practicing. However, it was through the cancer diagnosis of Ashley's husband that she came to know her purpose in life. And so out of her pain was born Timeless Dream Event. Its mission and vision to provide terminally ill people and their family members with a timeless dream event that will celebrate life and love. How cool is that? She plans various events at minimal notice due to each unique and sensitive situation. She's a caregiver advocate and is an admin of a Facebook group called Caring the Caregiver, Treat Yourself. Recently, Ashley added author to a list of skills with the publishing of Lost Travel Found, Turning Pain into Purpose, which can be found on Amazon, Target, and Barnes & Noble's websites. Ashley has been humbled by being able to turn her own pain into a blessing to others. This episode is certainly a treat for you if you are listening. And as always, I'm grateful you're taking the time to tune in, and may your own journey through loss or whatever form of grief you may be experiencing be filled with light and hope. So relax back now and enjoy. So welcome, Ashley. So good to have you here today with me.
Thank you for having me.
Go, what a truly beautiful soul you are doing what you do. And I am so excited to hear more. So we've got a lot to get through. So when you're ready, let's crack on into it.
All right.
So Ashley, take us back to the beginning of 2017 when your fiance proposed and then the ensuing journey that you were faced with thereafter.
Yeah, definitely. So January 1st of 2017, my boyfriend at the time proposed to me at Cinderella's Castle at Disney World. I am obsessed with Disney, so how could I say no? I had my Prince Charming and I was by the castle, so we were on the top of the world, right? And then 2.5 months later, on March 28th of 2017, we found out about his cancer diagnosis. And when the doctors are telling us cancer, and stage 4, we're sitting there like, what? Like, we just got engaged and we're supposed to be planning an engagement party, not trying to figure out what time I have to take him to the hospital, what pills he has to take, what treatment is today or this hour. It was mind blowing, for lack of better words. At 31 and he was 37, none of our friends, none of our family members could really relate. Like they were out living their best lives, right? When you're in your 30s. So it was hard. It was depressing.
Oh, I can't even begin to imagine what that must have been like, when the realization sunk in that not only that you had to be Troy's caregiver, but also then the breadwinner of the family. And then you had to try and keep all the wheels turning on the home front with so much time also spent traveling to and from his treatments. That must have taken its toll on you. How did you cope with all of that?
In short, I didn't. So I burnt out, and I burnt out pretty bad. So there's this thing that's called caregiver burnout, and I didn't realize that's what I
Yeah.
was going through.
Can you describe in just a little bit more detail what that looks like so people who may be
Yeah.
listening can
Yeah.
actually say, hey, that might be me here?
Yeah, sure. So, and burnout is universal, but caregiver burnout is like next level, is how I like to describe it. So, because most family caregivers become caregivers overnight, like in a blink of an eye, there's all this added stress of who do I turn to, not knowing who to turn to. There might be resources out there, but you have to dig for them. I don't have time to dig for them because you just told me this person has to be here like now because he has stage 4 cancer and it's rare. And when I went online to look at resources, look up this cancer, I see really bad things on the internet. And I see he has 35% chance with this type of cancer. Okay, how do I get him to point A and point B? I have to work as well because someone has to pay the bills. The bills are going to keep coming in regardless of his cancer status. I have to cook because he's too weak. He used to be the cook. Now I have to because he's too weak, doing all the laundry, the cleaning, making sure he has a sterile environment. It's just so much that goes onto your plate that you, the caregiver, get shoved closer and closer to the rim of that plate until finally you get shoved all the way off and you're like free falling and you're just kind of just grabbing for anything. For me, when I was kind of going through that free fall, I was trying anything and everything. Like self care to me seemed like, oh, bubble baths and pedicures. Like that
Yeah.
would cure everything. Let me go get a pedicure.
Yeah.
That made my feet look pretty, but that didn't help the anxiety.
That's in the burden. Yeah.
So, it wasn't until actually my mom and Troy, my husband, it wasn't until they pointed out to me like, hey, something's a little off with you. Maybe you might want to take a minute to relax,
You were so far into it that you couldn't see that the wheels were coming up for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was probably like one wheel at that time. Like for me, it looked like I was irritable. If anybody would ask me a question, I would just like figure it out. It could have been as easy as what salad dressing do you want? I don't care. Like, just figure it out. I had stomach ulcers. I developed migraines. I gained weight. There's so much, how caregiver burnout can present itself. I mean, I was depressed, even though I'm seen as the strong one and happy go lucky. Those are the ones that you really need to check up on. For anybody listening, those are the strong ones are the ones that you probably should be calling. So, it was hard because not only was I his caregiver, but I was doing all of this before we even said our vows to each other. We were trying to get to that point. And throughout his treatment process, it was hard because am I going to be able to walk down the aisle to this man? I'm our wedding planner as well. So put that on top of everything. And it's stressful enough planning a wedding.
The item on its own is stressful enough without putting anything else into it.
Exactly. So, all of that added, it became very overwhelming. Luckily, I had people in my life that recognized like, hey, you need to maybe take a chill pill.
So how did you get yourself out of it? Because you still had to carry on doing all of those things. So,
Right.
so how did you then step away from just that sheer overwhelm to actually being able to take some self-care?
Yeah, and I always say it's nothing like you wake up one day and you're like, I'm going to be the self-care guru. It's something gradual. Like for me, I stumble. I stumbled. When they pointed out to me, maybe you should, because I love to travel. It's a huge passion of mine. So, they said maybe you need to go somewhere, and just relax and, you know, get
So you had support around you that you could do
yeah.
that?
My
Yeah,
mom
great.
is a huge support for me. And not all caregivers get that. And I truly understand that. But luckily I did. My mom could step in and make sure he was taking his medication and taking him to treatment. So, I did go away, but it was still stressful because I was away, right? And I'm like, shoot, did I tell my mom to make sure he did this? Let me call him to make sure he is doing this. So it's something gradual. Like that was the first step, but then you have to find something. Obviously, I can't go away for weeks, months upon time. So you have to find something that you are passionate about, that's something that brings you joy to that is yours
Yes.
to fulfill times of self-care that is needed. And what I found is just starting with baby steps, 3 to 5 minutes. Just start with 3 to 5 minutes and whatever that may look like for you, because my self-care regimen may be different than yours, the next person. So you have to find what works for you and just start with something small.
Yeah. And that's why you've become so passionate about being an advocate for caregivers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of your own experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So, how important was hope factoring in Troy's recovery? Because it's spanned a few years, didn't it?
Yes. So, and that's something that I didn't really realize, cancer, it can be a lifetime battle. It is in essence, because once you have been diagnosed with cancer, or, anyone listening if you yourself have been diagnosed with cancer or someone in one of your loved ones, it's a lifetime thing. Like for us, even though he is technically in remission, or whatever they want to term it, he has to have MRI scans every 3 to 6 months. So there's still anxiety behind getting those scans. So it's something that I have to work through. I constantly have to sometimes just take a stop and breathe.
Yeah.
And hope and faith is really what has gotten me through in the past. Oh goodness, I would even go back almost 10 years. Faith and hope has gotten me through some of the worst traumatic times in my life. You know, Hope is something so beautiful to cling to. And I know not everybody's cancer story comes out like ours did, but the hope that it can
Yes.
is so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important. And the same for me, it's that even if it's just that tiniest of glimmers, that's what can keep you getting up day in,
Yeah.
day out to do all that hard stuff that you need to do. It's the hope that we just may beat this thing.
And I do remember there was one point in his treatment, and that the doctors like told us at one point, like, don't have too much hope.
Ooh.
And we kind of looked at each other and was like, well, that's not going to work for us. That's all we could ride. We could only ride the winds of hope.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. So, what an incredible feeling that must have been to overcome the odds. And, how did you and Troy celebrate?
Oh, so we traveled. We went to the beach. We live in Ohio, which is in the northern part of the United States. We traveled down south to go to a beach because that's what he loves to do. I love the beach too. So we celebrated in a big way with that. We had to be careful where we went though, because as soon as he was declared cancer free, within a couple weeks is when the United States shut down.
Absolutely.
So we had to
Absolutely.
we were in those couple of weeks before the shutdown, we were looking up flights and hotels, and then we had to kind of push that to the side. But we ended up renting an RV,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
we went from one side of the country to the other side. But then we also went to the beach a little time after that, to keep celebrating, because life, you just never know. So we like to celebrate life as much as possible.
Yeah, I think when you come that close to knowing that you could lose that most precious person, that puts a whole new perspective on life and what you do value. And it's often the little thing. It's not the big things, is it? It's the little day-to-day things.
Yeah.
That matter. That's great. So you've also experienced grief with other family members, but in quite a different way. Share with us what those were like for you, those other experiences.
Yeah, definitely. So back in September of 2011, my father passed away suddenly. So we didn't get, thank you. He wasn't ill. He wasn't chronically ill or anything like that. His doctors always gave him a clean bill of health, and they were even baffled when he passed away, because they said, your dad was like one of the healthiest men we ever saw in our office. So he passed away suddenly. I didn't get a good last goodbye or I love you. He knew that I loved him. I mean, don't get me wrong. We had a very special relationship. Huge daddy's girl. We didn't get that final, like, I'm holding your hand, I'm here beside you, I love you, you can go on now. It wasn't like that. So it was very traumatic, because and I had like an outer body experience when my mom and I got to our house, and because my pastor was calling for us to get to the house, and we pull up and there's a police officer and then my pastor, and they're like, come inside, we need to tell you something. And like, what's going on here? And they tell us that he had passed away and to get my brother home. And it was very traumatic, because we were expecting it. Obviously, I said it was suddenly, so to work through those feelings, we were hurt, we were mad, we were sad, obviously, depression. My mom lost her soulmate.
Yeah.
My brother and I lost our dad, our best friend. What do you do with that? What those feelings? In essence, I kind of burnt out over grief. That's it's really hard all this death is hard, period, all the way around. But that sudden loss was just, it tore me at the bits. And then going through my caregiving journey and that anticipatory grief with my husband, not knowing if he would even survive to make to our wedding. And then May of this year, I lost my grandfather, who battled stage 4 lung cancer. He was 86 years young when he passed. But what I loved about his spirit, he never complained about hurting, about any kind of pain. He never asked, why me? So his spirit was beautiful. And he got to the point where he was ready to go on. He had no worries whatsoever. And, I got to be right there with him when he passed. So I did get my final, like, I'm giving you my permission. I love you. You can go, which was hard in itself. And my grandfather's death, I mean, it's been 3 months, so it's still very, I was just at his house to just say hi earlier. this afternoon. And I know his physical being's not there, but his house is. So I just want to say, hey, Grandpa, you're going to miss those times. So it's, I've had it seems like I've had like kind of run of the mill type grief with the sudden loss, and then watching someone steadily decline, almost not even themselves. So
I think that all those different types of grief and experiencing them the way you did has probably helped prepare you for what you're doing now, which is this fantastic vision you have for terminally ill families. So tell us how you got to know what your life purpose was, and then lead us into telling us what you're doing now, because this is an incredible story.
yes, absolutely. So after my husband and I went through his cancer treatment, and he actually, I was told that, he was going to go to hospice because the treatment wasn't working. But then he had a couple major surgeries, and they were able to, get him to where he is now. Between the doctor's staff and God and our hope and faith, he is cancer free as of March 2020. So he is literally here a year later. He still is cancer free, thank God. And basically, March and April of 2020, I was overjoyed. Obviously, I'm overjoyed. We finally got him to the place where we've been praying and hoping for the previous 3 years. But because I had wrapped my whole self, my whole being, my whole essence into being his caregiver, when I didn't have to be his caregiver 24/7, I was lost. I was like, okay, so what am I supposed to do now? Because I don't have to run you back and forth to the hospital Monday through Monday. So I was like, I need to figure out what Ashley wants, who Ashley is and what she wants. So that's when I hired a business coach and walking through my likes, my dislikes, things that give me joy. And she wanted to talk about things that might be pain points in my life. And I didn't want to talk about them. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't, they're painful for a reason. Like, I don't want to talk about that. But the word she kind of, got out of me about losing my dad, about, almost losing my husband, Troy, and the knowledge that I love party planning. I love to celebrate. What I learned with my dad's sudden passing was that you need to celebrate each day because you never know when your last one is. He was 55.
Oh, that's so young. Oh,
yes. So, that's what we need to celebrate. So I love party planning and throwing events for people. So the more and more we talked, and she was like, that's it. And I said, what?
I knew you were going to say that. What's it?
What is it? She said, think about what you just said. And when I went over my notes, I was like, caregiver parties? And it just snowballed into this timeless dream events, which is, I will help anybody and everybody, but my heart is here to help those that are terminally and chronically ill and their family members, their loved ones. In, the state that my husband and I were in, I understand that, like, not knowing if I'm going to be able to make it to walk down the aisle to my husband, my groom. And I can relate to that. So if people, I've had people reach out to me like, I have to get married next month or 10 minutes from now because literally someone might not be here. I even had to help marry one of my really good friends, which I never thought my friends would have to use my service. But back in April, my really good friend had to reach out to me within a week to marry her because her father was going to pass away. And I kid you not, I helped her get married on a Thursday. her father passed that next Monday. So he passed away 3 or 4 days after she was married. So those are the type of events that I'm here to help people do. Celebrations of life. You know, I love to celebrate. My thing is, I know we're going to cry. I know we're going to be sad, but the people that are leaving us or have left us are going to want us to carry on their legacy and, find those moments of joy. So that's what I want to help others do.
I think it's such a blessing what you were doing. But though, how did you get it up and running? How did you start reaching out to these people to let them know about this concept? Because it is quite an unusual concept. There's not too many people that are actually celebrating and perhaps some of the toughest times of their lives. So how does that work?
And I get this question a lot, especially too, because I launched in the middle of pandemic.
Oh, God. Talk about make things tough for yourself.
Right. People that know me and know my story or knew my dad, know Troy. And when I launched my business, people were so drawn to it. Like, you really have tapped into this pain point in your life and you're turning it around, when some people would have shriveled up, stayed on the couch and said, no, I can't do this. You really are pushing yourself and helping others, bringing them up because they can't lift themselves up. You're helping lift them up. So that kind of took it, in the air. And Facebook, social media in general is so beautiful. It can be so beautiful. It can be aggravating, but it can be so beautiful as well. So, you get the loved ones, your core circle, they're sharing stuff. And then their people are like, what does this woman do? And then they're sharing stuff. So it's just snowballed. And there's so many people that, like I said, I'll help anybody. So I've had, multiple clients that have reached out to me just from my love story that I have on my website, just from reading that. And they're like, well, I'm not terminally ill, but I want you to help me because you went through some things.
Ah, that is beautiful. So tell me, what sort of events do you cater for?
Yeah. So, weddings, celebrations of life. I can do baby showers, wedding showers, whatever.
Whatever is a celebration.
Yeah.
And so how many are on your team? Because I imagine sometimes trying to organize something very last minute is like pulling rabbits out of a hat. You really do need to have some key people wrapped around this in order to make some things happen.
Yeah, sometimes it really is. So mom actually acts as my co-coordinator. So she'll help.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, people love that. So she'll help me. I do have like a caterer, photographer that are ready, like at a drop of a hat. Like, okay, when do I need and where do I need to be? So people are willing to do some pretty incredible things to help others in need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the clients that you deal with, because some of them have pretty special requirements, for example, around their medical equipment or the limitations they may be facing through their illnesses.
Sure.
How do you cope with that?
Definitely. So I can talk more about my friend's father. We actually had to marry her in his hospice wing. They tried to get him to come home, but his pain levels were just so high, there was no way. So we had to do it in his hospice wing. And for him, he wanted to be coherent. He wanted, listen and see what was happening. So he had to tell along with us, we shared his wishes. Like, he wants to stop his pain medication for an hour. And this man was in excruciating pain, but he didn't want cords and all these things around him when he saw his daughter walk down the aisle. She walked through the hospice door. So, I will accommodate and help accommodate in any way I can. Absolutely. There's been outside weddings where I've had to get, a hookup for someone's oxygen machine.
Mm-hmm.
And because their portable oxygen machine ran out of enough air, there's things that I've had to do that I'm sure maybe not normal event planners might have had to do. But
what a special feeling you must be left with, though, when you actually pull off those particularly difficult events where there are loads of challenges. What a massive feeling that must be for you and your team and those around you. Just say, yes, we've done it, and just see the absolute love and joy and happiness of those people that are involved with it.
Absolutely. And that's when I talk to, especially bride-to-be's, my thing is I just want you to enjoy your day. Let me take care of all the nitty-gritty details.
Yeah.
You need to enjoy each day because, like I always say, you never know what each day brings. So enjoy each day to the fullest, and especially if, things are looking grim. You definitely want to stay close to your loved one.
And I like the whole concept of the celebration of life before you actually depart, and you have those people who love and care around you. And, I would very much want that. And because I lost my daughter in a car accident, so that was sudden like your dad. And luckily, she knew and felt everything, how much I loved her. And I'd actually just spoken to her minutes before her accident. So that could be a double-edged sword, but I chose to look at it as like, how grateful am I that, we got to have that last, it was only like less than 40 seconds. It was such a quick conversation, but it was beautiful. And so it's choosing to be grateful for those things. But tell me about some of the special events that are really memorable for you that you've arranged.
Yeah, so definitely my friends, because she's one of my best friends, so that definitely sticks out.
Yeah.
There's been so many, like I have worked with one of my, all-time favorite photographers. That when I launched my business, I made kind of a wish list type thing of like different vendors I wanted to be able to work with. And it was just amazing how one of the photographers I put on my list, I got to work with her, and I hadn't even been in business for a whole year yet. And I was like, oh, wow. And just the picture she took at that event, the event space itself was beautiful. That was actually one of the first events that I did where I was like, Ashley, you are helping this bride. This is you helping this bride. Like, you did it. So there's been wonderful events I've been able to help, from high-end hotels to rustic barns to anything in the middle. I've been able to help so many different brides. I was able to do a baby shower for my cousin because she had 2 smaller baby showers because of COVID, and just lovely things like that. I love love, so I'm sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now tell me, you were in human resources for over 10 years, and now you've found this life purpose. Tell me the difference between the two, how you feel about, so what you've gone, because I feel this is really important for people to understand how important it is for them to tap into their life purpose and what that brings to life.
Definitely. So, and I actually just posted on my Facebook earlier today how I would always run late to my job. And a big part of it was because I dreaded going. I didn't want to be there. But now I wake up and I'm bushy-tailed and bright-eyed, to attack the day, excited to see who I can help. there's always someone out there that I could help. I just might have to look for them. And, whether that's through Timeless Dream events or my Facebook, my caregiver Facebook group. And that's the biggest difference that I've been able to tell for myself, was just that I used to drag in the mornings because I would not want to go to work.
Yeah.
But now I'm so excited about each day.
And we have so many people who are living life like that. They're dreading what they're doing. They're stuck in this rut where it's the same thing day in, day out, and they don't know how to get themselves out of it. And sometimes it takes a tragic event or something, pretty pivotal to make you think differently about it, because certainly that's what happened to me. What I'm doing now, I absolutely adore and love. And it's the same as you. I wake up every morning, like, excited. What's this day going to bring? What am I going to do today? Yeah. That's beautiful. So, it sounded like you were busy enough, but then you decided that you needed to throw a book in the mix. How did that come about?
Yeah. So once again, just having that extra little bit of free time from not having to take Troy back and forth between treatments and such. I started writing in May of 2020, but I shoved it to the side because I was like, well, no one wants to hear my story. No one wants to read my story. I don't have time to do this anyways. But it wasn't until I started talking to a fellow caregiver who now I consider like one of my best friends / sisters. And she told me she was writing her caregiver journey. And I told her, I said, I started writing about 3 months ago, but I quit. She said, pick up that pen. Just take a couple minutes each day and write. And she gave me the phone number to her writing coach. And I am a huge believer in coaches. I don't think Timeless Dream events would be if I hadn't invested in a business coach.
It's not about finding it yourself. It's about actually enlisting the help of somebody who knows how to get you from where you're at to where you want to be.
Exactly. And, because I'm a procrastinator by nature, and I think I was trying to throw myself a pity party, but I needed someone, because my dad was that way. He would be like, hey, girl, get your stuff together. You are meant for more in this world. That's the type of business coach I invested in. If I wanted to cancel a session with her, she's no, because there's people that you have to help, and we have to figure out what your purpose is to help those people who your purpose is for. So I'm a huge believer in coaches for that reason. So I said, oh yeah, give me her information. If she's good enough for you, she'll be good enough for me. And sure enough, this writing coach / editor is amazing. She helped, my book, Lost, Travel, Found, Turning Pain into Purpose, become what it is. They're my words, but she helped me put them. It was like a puzzle piece. I'm so glad I worked with her, because I was just going to type something up and there it is.
Yeah. That's
But she helped me craft it in a way where it read succinctly and beautifully, eloquently. And I launched it Father's Day weekend. So June 18th of this year, 2021. And it has been on Amazon's best news seller list 2 or 3 different times. And it's been an amazing ride. So much love and support that I've felt with this book. And, I describe losing my dad to rolling into my caregiver journey with Troy. And then it's kind of like my love story to myself, my Phoenix rising.
Girl after my own heart there. Now let's explore your caregiver role as well a little bit more, because I know on your website I saw that you have some resources and some beautiful gift boxes, and I like the idea of gift boxes because so often people are doing this caregiver journey or role in silence and often not acknowledged. What a beautiful idea for somebody just to gift a box to say, hey, hang in there, you're doing a great job.
Yes.
So, what sort of things have you popped in those gift boxes?
Yes, so I've had 2 so far. So I did them surrounding holidays. I had one for Christmas and one for Valentine's Day. And I've had anything from candles to journals to snacks, healthy snacks, and just I even had for Valentine's, I had the 5 love languages book
Beautiful.
popped in there because I think it's important for people to know their love language so that they can express love how they should and receive it. And you're right, caregivers are so behind a curtain. And what I'm trying to do is pull back that curtain to say, hey, we're here. This is what we need. And, we need love and support. Yes, this person is sick and it's sad, but we have to take care of that said person. And it's hard. And no one, people might ask, hey, how you doing? But they don't really want to know. Like they don't know that I had to clean up certain things so getting the feedback I got from people that purchased the caregiver self-care boxes brought me to tears because so many caregivers that received boxes, they told their loved one, like, thank you so much. I didn't even expect this. You sent it to me on the right day because I had a really bad day with your uncle or with grandpa or whoever it was. And it was wonderful to hear that it was actually what I had set out for it to be.
They are unsung heroes for sure. And like you say, often the focus is on the person who is very, very ill and not on the person who's providing that care, yet they're the ones that need equally, if not more, support. So, kudos to you for doing that and for bringing that out in the open and for having those discussions and trying to raise that awareness. And I know that both your dad and your granddad must be looking down on you so incredibly proud of what you have made from all this, hardship and heartache that you've been through. And I think truly you're a blessing for so many people. So that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, I want to ask you now, what is the best thing that's happened to you either today or this past week?
Ooh, I had a book signing this past weekend in my hometown.
Yes.
And the love and support that I received, what was amazing, people even wanting to just stop and talk about my dad. They might have already got the book and they just wanted to come out and just stop and talk about my dad and the memories of him and just, people just stopping by and asking about the book and, being able to say, my husband survived the 35% chance survival, great cancer. And he's standing right over there and seeing people's eyes just go, what? Like, what? And you read a book about this? Let me see this, just talking with people about my story, even though in the beginning it was really hard to. But as I keep telling it and seeing how it helps others has been very, very great.
I heard something really special from someone who I call a dear friend now. She's a publisher and author, and that as she talks about golden butterflies and that golden butterfly lands on you, and it's that feeling that you need to share your story, that you need to get your story out. And it's almost like you need to do that. If you feel that, you need to do that because you don't know who out there is just waiting to hear what you've been through to help them on their own journey.
Exactly.
And I've got that golden butterfly sitting on me and I better do something about it. Like I've got it all sort of drafted out. I haven't quite sort of executed it yet, but yeah, I definitely know because, I had quite a unique journey with my own girl and yeah, it's beautiful and it's led me on this most incredible journey. So I value that. When you're having a moment, in your day where, it all turns upside down, pear-shaped, what's your go-to to pivot yourself out of that?
Music.
Music? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I will listen to, a song, maybe something that my dad liked to listen to. Something we used to listen to a lot of music going up and down the highway for choice treatment. So maybe I'll pop in a song, that reminds me of those times when we would have our own little concerts in the car, something to try to bring me out.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have those moments because we don't want to bottle those moments up. But it's also important to try to get out of those moments.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. And music has this huge capacity to lift the soul in so many different ways. So yes, beautiful. So what takeaways would you like to leave with our listeners?
Definitely. So take baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care is very important and it doesn't have to be bubble baths and pedicures. It can be writing. Take 3 to 5 minutes each day to write your feelings. My 3 to 5 minutes turned into a book. So you never know what may happen. Take, music, running, binge watching something on Netflix. I mean, you can gradually work up, from 3 to 5
run. Yeah.
hours, whatever. Just keep working at something that brings you joy. Because we all have to find little bits of joy throughout the day. Okay. I tried, and I know this can be hard for some, but I always tried to remember the legacy that I wanted to carry, which was my father and now my grandfather's legacy. And would they be sad to see me crashing and burning? Yes. Am I going to have my moments where I miss them both? Yes. I've cried, I don't know how many tears when I saw 10 pop up for this year with my dad being gone. Something about the 10th year has had me in the shakes at different points. I don't know why. Grief is just funny that way.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have those moments. But I also remember whose daughter I am, whose granddaughter I am. And I pick myself up and I say, okay, I'm going to help someone else's daughter, someone else's cousin, someone else's friend, so that they know they're not alone.
Yeah.
They may be in their 30s, their 20s, their 60s. I will help you and let you know that you aren't alone on this grief journey.
So important.
Okay. Those are some big things. And also the biggest thing that I love to live my life by is, and I'll give you a quote that my father always said. He was a big believer chasing your dreams, going after your goals and achieving them. And one of his funniest quotes to me was, you can either have your butt prints in the couch or your footprints in the sand. What are you going to do today to chase your dreams?
Oh, that's cool. That is so powerful too. Yeah. You can sit down and think about it, or you can get up and do something about it. And that's so powerful. Those are really awesome takeaways. Ashley, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you share your journey and your insights and your beautiful, beautiful soul. I can just feel it. I can just see you just touching so many lives in so many very special ways. And I want to wish you and Troy a wonderful journey ahead.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode today, be sure to share it with others. Hit the subscribe or like button so you can be notified of each weekly episode. Also, let me know how I'm doing. especially if there's more you'd like to know that perhaps we didn't get time to touch on today or in past episodes. And if you're after resources to help you out on this journey, or more about the energy healing work I do, hit the Healing to Be You link. That's the word healing, number 2, letter B, letter U.com. So until next time, be kind to you, and thank you for joining us on the beautiful side of grief.